Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Canberra Football Show, episode 62, round 15 review. Joining me, as always, is Michael Georgeski. Michael, how's it going today?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Matt. Just keen to get into all the action that transpired over the weekend. Some big results, as there always is, and we're here to break it down. So let's do it.
Indeed. Let's kick off with the NPL. You've got the first one.
Yep. So first up, we had Tigers FC up against Gungahlin United, and this was probably the biggest result of the weekend, Matt, in terms of NPL action. A very big win for Tigers in the context of their sort of recent struggles and the amazing form on the flip side that Gunners have been able to sort of produce over the last few months. And it was Borgner who scored in the 12th minute, Tanini in the second half to make it 2-0 in the 74th minute before Jeremy Haptemariam scored in the 90th minute there to grab a consolation goal for Gungahlin United. But like I said, huge win for Tigers, Matt. This is their first win in 8 matches. So it's actually their first victory since they beat Belconnen on May 14th. So it was a long wait for Tigers in this one. And, eventually they just kept sort of going at it. They had sort of improved in the last few weeks. Obviously, there were a lot of draws that they had sort of endured as well. But they come out on top in this game, and it's just a huge result when you consider the form that Gungahlin United were in, like I mentioned at the top. It has sort of big implications on the race for the top 4 for Tigers, as, the result sort of puts them in 5th place now. And, it sort of gives them a claim to make a late little surge now to try and get into the top 4 with O'Connor Knights there sitting in 4th place. But you'll get into that result in our next breakdown, Matt. To open the scoring in this one, like I mentioned, was Borgner scoring from a free kick, Matt. So it wasn't your traditional sort of free kick over the wall into the top corner. It was hit low. I think it may have caught the keeper a little by surprise, and he was able to find the bottom corner, made it 1-0 in the 12th minute there. And, Tanini's goal, I thought, was a really good one as well in the second half there. Things were really sort of cagey. It's, getting towards that latter stage in the second half. Tigers are doing everything they can to obviously, extend their lead to try and get a much needed 3 points. And that's what Tanini was able to produce. It was a great ball over the top, and he sort of just took it down on his chest, Matt, and went across goal there to find the bottom corner across goal. And from that moment onwards, Gungahlин's performance, was only impacted further. When they were 2-0 down, and then they obviously went down to 10 men following a red card there in the 83rd minute. And although Haptemariam, like I said, he managed to score in the dying stages, it was obviously a little bit too late for them to salvage anything from the game. And it's a huge result for Tigers, and it sort of gives them, Matt, that slimmer of hope that they might be able to get into the finals, especially after the result concerning O'Connor Knights this weekend. Tigers are only 4 points off now in 5th place behind the 4th placed O'Connor Knights. So it's going to come right down to the wire. And this result proved absolutely huge for them to try and, sneak their way in there.
It certainly did. And it's one of those things where we've discussed all season. It's going to be just an absolute lightning end to the season for everybody. And like you said, it's going to come right down to the wire for several positions, not just the top 4. O'Connor do have that 4-point cushion, but a lot can happen till the end of the season. And that also sort of leads into this game right now, where it sets up some interesting matches, especially for next week. West Canberra Wanderers 1-0 victory over O'Connor Knights. West Canberra scored the only goal of the matchup through Lachlan Fields, as he sort of lost balance as he went down for that shot, but he went straight for the shot nonetheless. And that, I guess, sort of helped, because the momentum came through when he hit it. And when he hit it, it was an absolute belter in that bottom right corner. It was in the 82nd minute, so right near the end of the game. Overall, there was a relatively 50-50, pretty close matchup. Wanderers probably having more of the chances overall, but there weren't heaps of clear-cut chances for this one with either side. Huge victory for the Wanderers, though, as you could see their elation after that goal and the elation at halftime. At full time. I was there covering this one with Russ, and you could just see the elation of everybody. Every Wanderers fan there, and all the Wanderers volunteers there as well. This means they're only 2 points off Belconnen and have the opportunity to overtake them if they defeat Belconnen on the weekend. So while the weekend's game coming up does not mean whoever doesn't win is going to get relegated, but it does it does have huge implications in that regard. While we still have 7 or so rounds left, or 6 rounds left, actually, it really does sort of set up an interesting matchup, and it does sort of have a lot of stakes at hand, despite the fact that we have quite a few rounds left. This will be West Canberra's first chance in quite a while, though, to try and get off the bottom of the table, which, of course, will be huge for them in terms of relegation, while we still have more matches, like we said. O'Connor probably have had the best chance of the first half when Connor Minot-Smith from deep went on a great dribbling run. Michael, we know he's great at weaving in and out of players, and he went for that bottom corner, but it went just wide. O'Connor was missing the likes of Michael Adams, Paketti Manda, and Patrick O'Rourke. Jake Wilson, though, got sent off in the second half just before the end of the game. He went in for a tackle, and it was believed that he got a handball after the kick was sort of over him. Probably a little harsh from what I saw to get a straight red for that. It didn't seem like a noticeable handball from where I was standing. However, I'm sure the ref was in a better position, but Wilson definitely wasn't happy with that. So he will miss next week's encounter, which obviously will be a big one for them as well, being the O'Connor derby. The visitors, though, have the gap between them and 5th place Tigers shortened to 4 points, like you mentioned before. It was 7 originally. And as discussed last week, though, they still have that cushion, and it's still in their hands for now. But naturally, when you're 7 points up, that's obviously a better lead to have. And I guess for O'Connor, from what I saw anyway, having some of those key players not there, it's sort of, they have that chemistry, right? O'Connor have always had that chemistry in midfield, and without having the likes of O'Rourke, Manda, and Michael Adams there, it seemed like that usual chemistry wasn't there for the Knights. So they'll be hoping to get their full squad back soon, because it's just all together. That's probably where O'Connor's greatest strength is in that chemistry.
Next up, we have Canberra Olympic, Matt, who played host to Canberra, Croatia, but it was the away side that were just far too good on this occasion, Matt. 5-1 winners, goals from, a hat-trick from Daniel Barac, Dominici and Tedeschi getting on the score sheet as well, and Popovic scoring for Canberra Olympic. In this one, a dominant performance from Canberra, Croatia, sees them, take their advantage, take advantage, of Gungalin's slip up against Tigers, which we'll obviously get into as well. Sorry, that I've already mentioned at the top. my mistake. And it now puts them 6 points clear at the top of the table, whereas there was a stage there where Gungahlin United were 3 points off Canberra, Croatia. So there was always that thought in the back of your mind that if Canberra, Croatia were to slip up and lose a game, that Gungahlin could capitalize and at least level the points in the standings. But after we found out that Gungahlin had lost to Tigers, and obviously with Canberra, Croatia picking up this win, it now puts them 6 points clear at the top of the table, sort of helping them stake their claim to be, minor premiers again when the regular season concludes. Like I said, Matt, a hat-trick from Barac, highlighted just how good of a season he's actually having in the forward line. One of his best seasons in recent memory, for sure. And we all know that this was Olympics' first outing after the news was announced early in the week that Russ touched on during commentary, that, former coach Robbie Katnach had parted ways with the club. And I think there's a bit of a period there where Olympic have just got to sort of get used to a new face, a new way of playing, and a new coach with Oida at the helm. So they're going to have to try and figure things out quick, though, Matt. Obviously, there's 6 games left in the regular season, and they're just sort of floating above that relegation battle that we're going to be really accustomed to seeing over the next sort of few weeks, especially with Olympic, West Canberra, and Belconnen United. So they're going to all be fighting it out to try and stay in this league. And in terms of the actual match, though, I thought Canberra Croatia looked their fluid best, by scoring goals and taking their opportunities when they presented themselves. And I think that was highlighted when, Matt, they were able to score 3 goals in the opening 18 minutes of play. 2 of those were through Barach, and Dominici scored the other. And I think it really showed how quickly they can punish teams when given the opportunity. And we've seen that numerous times this season, and that's why they're the best team in the competition. I thought that Olympic, they managed to turn things around a little bit better in the second half, and that obviously resulted in Popovic scoring a bit of a consolation goal, if you call it that, before obviously Barach, scored a left-footed volley into the bottom corner to cap off his hat-trick and 5-1 victory for Canberra Croatia in this one. Like I said, it's a good win for them. They go 6 points clear at the top of the table. For Olympic, they're going to have to try and bounce back fast next weekend. They're only 3 points above West Canberra, I believe, in the standings, Matt. So plenty to play for, like I mentioned, between Olympic, Belconnen, and Woden, West Canberra, sorry. And it's going to go down to the absolute wire. But pretty much what we expected from Canberra Croatia, a professional performance and 5 goals to go along with it. What have you got next up?
Yep, and just to touch on that, the Olympic statement said technical director Oida will be stepping in an interim basis until they get a full-time coach as well. Just to clarify that, if no one saw the statement in that regard. Next up, though, Monaro Panthers, Ben Basser-Silk and Kishta with the goals for the Panthers. Fayers and Max Green with the goals for for Belconnen United. Calfas came up off with a cramp. It seemed like a cramp in the first half. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. I haven't heard anything about it as well. Obviously, Australia Cup midweek, he'll be one of the key players. Ben Basser-Silk opened the scoring with a great shot from outside the box. A bullet, but sort of low as well in the bottom corner. From a similar position, though, Emilio Kishta doubled it minutes later with an absolute screamer from outside the box in the top corner. While they will be disappointed to let a win slip, they do still gain a point on Gungahlin, as they are now 3 points off them in third place. And for those 2 goals as well, Michael, when I was watching it anyway, from the stream, it just cut out. So everyone had to go back and watch it, because that for like 10 minutes there, it was 0-0. We come in, it still says 0-0 on the thing, but Russ and Forshaw are discussing the goals. And then they obviously everyone was aware, and it was sort of rectified as we could go back and see it. But yeah, some technical issues there is we missed 2 absolute screamers if you were watching it from home. Despite going down in the first half, though, the Blue Devils did not throw in the towel. They did not drop their heads. A resilient comeback from them late in the second half. Before the goals, Momentum did skim the crossbar early in the second half. Chris Fayers half the deficit in the 74th minute after a clearance from a cross came to him and he buried it past the keeper. The second goal came through after Luke Vallone was brought down in the box, which resulted in Max Green stepping up from the penalty spot and putting an absolute bullet, I have to say, in that top right corner. Very, very well taken penalty. One of probably the best taken penalties I've seen in quite a while. Is an absolute bullet in that top corner. Important point, though, for Belconnen. And probably one of the best things as well to come from this result is the comeback, Michael. Their belief when it seemed like they were down and out, they didn't throw in the towel, and they made that comeback in the second half. Like we mentioned before, the match next week will be absolutely crucial for the Wanderers, as they have the chance to go 5 clear of them, or if they lose, though, they will be overtaken and sit in last place by 1 point. So despite heaps of despite a few more rounds after this, it will be all to play for. And like we said regarding Monaro, they do have that match against Sydney United. Huge game for them, 7:30 p.m. On Wednesday. So tomorrow, as this is coming out, away match to Sydney United. So that's huge for them. First time in their history. Good luck to everyone involved. It's a huge moment for that club. Probably the biggest match Monaro's had since the Inter-Monaro days, where they were in the NSL, facing the likes of Sydney United and Marconi and Sydney Olympic and all those top clubs in the NSL back in the 1980s. So good luck to them. It's such a big achievement for them. But like we said regarding Belco, it's going to be huge for them coming up, and a good comeback from them. What are our fixtures for this weekend, Michael?
Yeah, our fixtures for round 16, Matt, we kick things off with West Canberra, like we have discussed already, the crucial implications on this match.
Yep.
West Canberra up against Belconnen United, Saturday, 6th of August, 2:15 at Melrose Synthetic. So that'll be an absolute cracker, given where both clubs currently sit and what a win would mean for either side. O'Connor Knights come up against Canberra Olympic, also Saturday, August 6th, 3 p.m. at O'Connor Enclosed. Canberra Croatia take on Tigers FC, Saturday, August 6th, 5 p.m. at Deakin Stadium there. So if you're done at either West Canberra or the O'Connorverse Olympic match, you can head over to Deakin Stadium for the 5 p.m. kickoff. And then we finish things off with Gungahlin United looking to bounce back against the Monaro Panthers, who will go into this one fresh off their Australian Cup round of 32 match. And the match against Gungahlin will take place Sunday, August 7th, 3 p.m. at AIS Grassfield 2. So they'll get a little bit of recovery time after that Australian Cup match. Matt, on to NPLW. Let's kick things off.
Certainly will. And we start with the Saturday offering, which was Belconnen United 3, Tuggeranong United 0, Burridge, Matsis, and Backhouse with goals for the Blue Devils. Belco opened the scoring after 12 seconds due to a failed back pass from Tuggies, which was pounced on by Burridge as she neatly ran between the lines, between her markers, and squeezed it past the keeper. A nice ball over the top from Karen Clark found Tatum Matsis with her quick initiative, and she placed it past the keeper. Captain Talia Backhouse struck a free kick pretty low from the bottom corner to gain the third and final goal. Another important victory for Belco as they now extend their lead over the Wanderers. And when I mean the Wanderers, I mean West Canberra Wanderers here, and solidify third place by 10 points. It was not the day for Tuggies at McKellar. Saturday was the start, though, unfortunately for them, of some tough fixtures to come, as they also take on Canberra Olympic and Canberra Croatia back-to-back after this. They still remain 4 points ahead of Wagga, though, and in 7th place. But they do remain 6 points off CUA, who are in 6th after, if I'm not mistaken, they did have the catch-up game before this weekend against CUA, and CUA were victors in that one. So they are a couple of wins off CUA in 6th.
And next up, we've got Wagga City Wanderers, who were defeated by Canberra Olympic 4-0. Miro, Jaloka, Atulu, and Johnson getting on the score sheet there for the away side. Canberra Olympic, they maintained their pressure on the table toppers, Canberra Croatia, with a dominant win in Wagga, Matt. I thought they did a fantastic job of showing off their pace in this match, as they were able to, cause Wagga problems in behind and take advantage of a rather high line that they were playing with. And I think that the second goal sort of really showed well, the goal, I think it was from Miro, where the ball was sort of played in behind, and then she was sort of just coming down the left flank, and you could really see how high the line was in that instance because she had so much space to run into. Um, Once the through ball had been played, and then all she had to do was, bear down on goal and find the bottom corner, which she did emphatically. So that was a great goal, and I think Wagga, they did a much better job after the 20th minute of the match, where they found themselves, a couple of goals down, and they were able to, put in a better performance, which saw them actually create a few opportunities on goal throughout the match, which I'm sure they'll sort of take as a positive moving forward. Olympic, they remain 4 points off the pace when you compare them to Canberra, Croatia, who are leading the league. Canberra, Croatia, though, they're just not giving them any real hints of a possible slip up, though, are they, Matt? And, their form for most of this season for Olympic has been obviously really good. They came in with a lot of expectations given the additions that they had made to the squad, but they've got another beast in Canberra, Croatia that they have to overcome, and it's going to be very, very tough for them to find themselves getting over that hurdle. But you never know what can happen sort of down the season, especially in finals. But they remain 4 points behind, and I guess over the sort of next 6 games, they've just got to hope that maybe Canberra, Croatia is going to slip up. What have we got next, Matt?
Next up, Gungahlin United 5-1 victors over West Canberra Wanderers. Heyman with a hat-trick, Pennyfield with a goal, and Sharon Chow with a goal, Ginger Oliver with the goal for the Wanderers. Michelle Heyman took the headlines as she returned for the Gunners and scored a hat-trick in the process. All the goals, classic Michelle Heyman goals, beating her marker, being efficient in the box, getting on the end of loose balls, reading the play well, and reading the through balls well. The Erica Pennyfield goal was probably the pick of the bunch for Gungahlin United, in my opinion, as Nat DeMarco put a nice through ball to Erica Pennyfield as she lobbed it over the keeper into the back of the net. The Sharon Chow goal was also a nice piece of team play that started pretty much from Gungalin's goal. They worked their passes through the Wanderers team, and Sharon Chow was able to finish it off. Very, very, very important victory for Gungahlin, as this puts them 3 points closer to the Wanderers in their battle to make in their late battle to make the top 4. So essentially, Wanderers are 6 points ahead of Gungahlin United, and considering how big that gap was, say a month ago, Gungahlin are getting closer and closer, despite it still being in the Wanderers' hands. And once again, another great victory for Andrew Woodman, who in charge of Gungahlin. He's really starting to turn this team around, and the confidence clearly there. They're picking up victories. And despite the match, obviously, against Olympic last week, which is always going to be difficult against the likes of Olympic and Croatia. But besides that, I'm pretty sure Andrew Woodman's won most of his games that he's been in charge of Gungahlin. So he's really done a great job there, and the confidence is flowing from the rest of the team. Regarding the Wanderers, though, their goal came as Hattie Cram battled in the corner for the ball. Once she won it, whipped in a low cross to Ginger Oliver, who cut back across her marker and buried it. Another goal for Ginger Oliver. She's been having an absolutely outstanding season, as is Hattie Cram, who got the assist there. Despite the fact it was a consolation goal by that point, it was still a good goal nonetheless. Despite the loss, though, the Wanderers still have that 6-point cushion, like I just mentioned, in 4th place from their opponents on Sunday. Unfortunately for the Wanderers, though, their form isn't what it was like at the start of the season. They are now winless in 7 games. The first 3 of those 7 games were draws, and most recently, they have had 4 defeats in a row. So, unfortunately for the Wanderers and Ray Castro's side, the form isn't looking in their favor at the moment. And I guess it doesn't come at a good time with Gungahlin making their way back and coming at the heels of them. But the Wanderers do still have that 6-point cushion, and it is in their hands as it stands.
lastly, for NPLW, we've got Canberra United Academy, who played host to Canberra, Croatia. A very tight encounter, 2-1 victory, though, for Canberra, Croatia. A double for Brittany Palombi and a goal from the Campley for the CUA late in the second half there to get them a consolation goal. Yet another victory for the league leading Canberra, Croatia, as I sort of briefly mentioned before, Matt. They got off to the perfect start by finding, Palombi finding the back of the net in the opening minute of play. Uh, you know, who unleashed a cracker from outside the box into the top corner, and it was so quick, Matt, that the cameraman couldn't keep up with it. So that just goes to show how fast the strike was that came off her boot. I think CUA certainly made up for their shaky start. They really gave it to Canberra, Croatia before the away side converted from the penalty spot where Palombi was able to grab her second and Croatia's second goal of the match. They did reward themselves, though, with an amazing strike from DeCampley from outside the area to send a few nerves through the Croatia players, I'm sure. Given that it was in the 86th minute and there was still plenty of time there for them to at least salvage a draw. But in the end, it didn't happen. And this result, still means that Canberra, Croatia is top of the table by 4 points, like we mentioned earlier when discussing Canberra Olympic, who are in second. And I also want to mention that Brittany Palombi played her 150th NPLW game. So congratulations to her. That's an amazing, amazing achievement and a brace to celebrate it. So you can't ask for too much more. 2 goals on your 150th in a win as well. So fantastic for not only Canberra, Croatia, but Brittany Palombi individually. Matt, what are the round 16 fixtures for NPLW?
The games for this weekend: Belconnen United against Gungahlin United, Saturday, August 6th, 3 p.m. at McKellar Park. Very big game for Gungahlin United. They have the opportunity to obviously help their race. They'll need Wanderers to slip up as well, but if they can do their end, they put themselves in a good position there. West Canberra Wanderers CUA, Sunday, August 7th, 12:45 p.m. at Melrose Synthetic. Once again, big match for the Wanderers. They still have the cushion, but considering their form, if they can get a win here, that would do that would really help them out in both regards in terms of results and in terms of the form as well. Canberra Olympic against Tuggeranong United, Sunday, August 7th, 2:30 p.m. at O'Connor in Close. And Canberra Croatia v Wagga City Wanderers, Sunday, August 7th, 2:30 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. All right, next up is the CPL, Michael. Some big results here, and you probably start with probably the biggest result of them all this weekend in the CPL.
Yeah, most definitely, Matt. Wagga City, 4-3 winners over White Eagles. Goals from Ochang, he grabbed 2, and 2 goals from Kadzola as well. For Eagles, Kagla, Booth, and Lawrence Scott on the score sheet for the visiting outfit. Like you said, Matt, a great game, probably the result of the weekend, a 7-goal thriller. Wagga came, from 1-0 down, to take the lead before halftime through Ochang. And, what a great player he's been for Wagga this season. Wagga took the lead again thanks to a brace from Kadzola to eventually seal the victory for his side. And, they did concede late, but they held on for victory in what was an absolutely stellar game, Matt. And, this victory, is their 4th in a row. So they've picked up a head of steam and they're playing some very good football at the moment. And they remain in the top 4, which is even more important as they look to secure a finals berth. So, they're still 4th due to the goal difference behind ANU, but they extend their lead over Brindis, who are just outside the top 4 by 4 points. So a vast improvement from their 8-0 defeat to White Eagles back in round 8. It just goes to show how things can quickly change around, Matt, and Wagga have been playing some excellent football. The confidence is flowing through this Wagga side at the moment, and long may it continue if they, continue to produce at this level. White Eagles, on the other hand, it's always a tough trip to Wagga. They've done it many times in this competition, and I think this result will definitely hurt them. They did have the upper hand over their opponents in the previous encounters. Winning the last two, which were at home, and even though they were able to take the lead in this game through Kagler, which is, by the way, his 16th goal of the season as he's sitting joint top of the goal scoring standings. That's absolutely sensational that they've been able to, you know, have a player of his quality be able to find the back of the net on a consistent basis. Booth's goal sent them level, and then Lawrence's goal gave them a brief hope, of a late comeback, but it just wasn't meant to be. Overall, very competitive match. And, the loss means White Eagles are still, in sixth place. They're only 5 points behind the top four, so it's not all doom and gloom. They still have a chance. There's still some matches to be played. And it is important to mention that they do have a game in hand, but it is against the very good Tuggeranong United outfit, who are top of this competition. Matt, who do we have next?
Next up is Queanbeyan City with a big victory, 4-0 over the Brindabella Blues. Menza, Fureje, Walker and Petrovsky with the goals. Queanbeyan got off to a romping start as they scored twice in the opening 16 minutes through those regular scorers I just mentioned, Michael Menza and Hus Fureje. Walker and Petrovsky rounded off the scoring at 4-0 in the second half. A very, very good display from Queanbeyan as they look to keep pace with Tuggeranong before their big clash, which will be coming up soon. They are currently, like we said, they're currently 4 points off Tuggeranong at the moment. This fixture is also one that has given Queanbeyan quite some tough games recently against the Brindabella Blues. I believe it was a draw at one stage, and then Queanbeyan won narrowly, I think, in the first one of the first rounds. I think it was the first round of the season. So to come out of this tough fixture, that has been like sort of a bogey team for them in that regard, to come out with a scoreline like this, impressive display from Queanbeyan at an important time of the season for them as they try to look for promotion. Not the best day at the office for the Brindies as they fell by a hefty margin. And considering the really recent form they've been in as well, it's not like they've been in poor form themselves. Unfortunately for them, though, this loss puts them 4 points behind the top four, like we've mentioned, when literally they were, only a couple of weeks ago, they were absolutely thriving with form. That just goes to show how competitive this league is, Michael, at the moment, and how every result matters in the CPL.
Next up, Matt, we have a cracking game that was on display. ANU, 2-1 winners, Matt, over Yoogali. In this one, Hines on the score sheet, as well as Spears. And for Yoogali, it was Donadell, a familiar name there on the score sheet for Yoogali. Hines opened the scoring for ANU after a long ball from their, half was put over the top and then cut back to Hines. 30 minutes later, Spears, doubled the scoring with a neat header off a corner. They did have other chances as well in this matchup. It was a close match, and the win was very, very important for ANU in terms of the context of the race, for securing finals football. They sit in third place, as we briefly mentioned before. The goal difference over Wagga keeps them in third at the moment. They both also extend their lead over Brindies in fifth, like we mentioned as well, by 4 points. So that will, give them a little bit of, comfort and leverage. And on the flip side, Yoogali, scored, near the end of the match when they whipped in a nice cross for a header for Donadell. That was initially saved, and then the rebound was also saved. So a bit of chaos there before the ball ended up going in the back of the net from Donadell. There was some confusion whether it crossed the line. It was called, though, and Isaac Donadell, was the scorer of that one. They had their chances, but it just wasn't meant to be, Matt, in this game, as it sometimes just proves to be when you play these games. And the loss means that, the Griffith-based side, are now 10 points off the top four. Their window is, closing by the week for their chances to make the final series. Obviously, we never say never, but it is getting a little bit steep now that they find themselves with a double-digit deficit to try and get into the top four. Matt, what was our last matchup of the round for round 15 CPL?
our last matchup was the only Sunday offering in CPL. Tuggeranong United 6-0 over Weston Molonglo. Hislop with a hat-trick, Walker with a brace, and Richards with a goal. In typical Tuggeranong fashion, they began the game in a blitz, scoring twice in the first 16 minutes through Hislop and Walker, while Hislop scored another before half-time. They added another 3 in the second half. 2 of them were through Hislop for his... one was through Hislop for his hat-trick. Walker scored as well for his brace, and then Richards with the final goal of that second half and the game. Sam Walker's brace means he is now at 16 goals this season and is joint top scorer with White Eagles' Gungahlin. This victory also means that Tuggies regain their 4-point gap at the top of the table over Queanbeyan, and of course still have that match in hand against the Canberra White Eagles. We're going to be coming, as you know, the rounds reduce, we are coming into quite an exciting end for the CPL, especially with the other catch-up match, and there very well could be another catch-up match before the end of the season, even though the weather's been pretty good lately, so we'll see how that goes. Weston are coming off a really good performance last week. Webby last week on this show said it was their best of the season as they went down to ANU 2-1. Unfortunately, they weren't able to replicate that same performance against a very, tough task to come up against top of the table Tuggeranong United. Unfortunately for Weston, though, their first points of the season are still eluding them. Michael, what are our fixtures for next week's round of 16 CPL?
Yeah, so first up, we've got Western Molonglo playing host to Wagga City Wanderers, Saturday, August 6th, 2:15 at Woden Park enclosed. Following that is ANU up against Queanbeyan City, an absolute cracker. Matt, we know how important this one is. And that one will take place on Saturday, August 6th, 3:15 p.m. at ANU South Oval. Yoogali will tackle the league leaders, Tuggeranong United, Sunday, August 7th, 1:30 p.m. at Solomad Stadium there, before the last game of the round is Canberra White Eagles versus Brindabella Blues, Sunday, August 7th, 3 p.m. at Woden Park enclosed. So some cracking matchups this week, Matt, across, all the different leagues. And, we'll be right back here again, sort of dissecting it all. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more sort of storylines to come out.
Yeah, a lot to play for there in those matches. I think especially ANU and Queanbeyan City and White Eagles and Brindies stand out there. But in saying that, though, the other matches, of course, you've got Wagga. You've got Wagga who are in really good form. If they keep winning, they'll be staying in the top 4. And then, of course, Yoogali, while they're a little bit off, they're still, mathematical chance to make the 4. And then, of course, Tuggeranong, as we've said before, as they look to stay in top in that race for promotion. So there is so much going on there in the CPL. And as we mentioned, Monaro Panthers will be playing Sydney United tomorrow as this recording comes out, 7:30 p.m. over in Sydney. That will be on 10 play, I believe, in the Australia Cup, round of 32. So good luck to them as they represent the capital in the Premier Club competition that, merges NPL sides and A-League sides. Always exciting, especially for the NPL sides. Any last words before we head off, Michael?
No, I think that should be a good game, though. It's an exciting time to be, a Canberra football fan, where we sort of just get behind our representative in the Australian Cup. And I certainly hope that Monaro can do well in this, on this stage that they've got themselves into. And, I hope that they can at least, if the result was to not go their way, that they at least put in a good performance where it raises some eyebrows, and you never know who's watching. So we'll see. It's going to be a cracking game. Hopefully everyone can get behind them, seeing that they're representing the nation's capital. And, it'd be even better if they were able to get a victory and maybe go on a infamous run like we've seen from, Canberra teams in years gone by, most notably, obviously, Tuggeranong United back in 2014, and then Canberra Olympic in 2016. So it's been a little while since the Canberra team sort of built up a bit of steam in the Australian Cup, but you never know, it might happen again.
And of course, Frank Casher is no stranger to that, obviously
Yep.
being the coach for that Olympic side. And there's a few players in here that have also played in the Australia Cup for Monaro. And like we said, this is their first time of the competition, and it's probably their biggest match since the 1980s when Inter Monaro, as they were named then, were playing along the likes of with the likes of Sydney United in the elite competition at that stage, which was the NSL, which they were there for 2 seasons. So, like we said, best of luck to everyone there. All right, that is us for today. Heaps of great goals, heaps of great matches. There's lots of big matches coming up, including that match midweek. So everybody enjoy your football. There are plenty of options. Have a good one.